This message is for kings, princes, rulers of countries, governments, prime ministers, presidents, and yes, and to voters. There are 7 sins that will destroy a nation. Very serious. When the children of Israel came out of Egypt, they had a mission. They had a mission to go to the promised land. But why did it take over 400 years for God to bring them out of Egypt? Why did he wait 400 years? The answers are in the scriptures. Let's look at Genesis chapter 15. Verse 13 says, "And he," God, "said to Abram, know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs," which would be Egypt, "and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. And you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come here again," speaking to the promised land, "for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full." I want you to bracket this in your mind. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So God said, hey, it's going to take 400 years to get you back into this land. You went to Egypt. You're going to be afflicted for 400 years. But I'm waiting for 400 years to deliver you because I'm waiting for the sins of the Amorites to become full. I'm waiting for it to just get to a certain level, to a certain pitch where I just can't take it no more, where the Amorites, basically the hammer's going to come down on the Amorites. They're going to be judged. They're going to be driven out of the land. They're going to be destroyed. You're going to go ahead and take the land. But what we're waiting for is we're waiting for the sins of the Amorites to reach its full measure, to be filled up, to be full. You may say, why? Like God can do anything. Like God could just send his people into the land of Canaan and just wipe out the inhabitants, whether they sin or whether they don't sin. He can give the land to his people. But no, God is a just God. He's got principles. He's got laws that he follows himself. He's a just God. And so he says, I'm waiting for those sins, the sins of the Amorites, to reach its full measure. I'm waiting for those sins to get to a certain pitch, to a certain level, before then the hammer comes down and the judgment comes down upon them, and they will be driven out of the land. Because of their sins, they will be destroyed. Because of their sins, and other people will come in to take the land. So the big question is, what are those sins? It details it for us in the Torah. In Leviticus chapter 18, we read about 7 sins that destroy nations. Verse 1, it is written, Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, I am the Lord your God. According to the doings of the land of Egypt, where you dwelt, you shall not do, and according to the doings of the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you, you shall not do, nor shall you walk in their ordinances. You shall observe my judgments and keep my ordinances to walk in them. I am the Lord your God. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which, if a man does, he shall live by them. I am the Lord. God goes into the list of sins. Starting off at verse 6, verses 6 to 18, God condemns all forms of incest. In verse 19, God speaks against sexual uncleanness. And you shall not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she is in her customary impurity. In other words, having intimacy with a woman during her blood flow. Number 3, God specifically speaks against the sin of adultery. Moreover, you shall not lie carnally with your neighbor's wife to defile yourself with her. Number 4, we read about in verse 21, passing your children through the fire of Molech. Molech is an ancient form of abortion. Molech was a statue with its belly open, with its womb open. People would engage in all kinds of sexual immorality, and naturally, children were conceived because of those acts. And they would take their children from the womb of the mother, being born or extracted prematurely. They would take that child from the womb and throw it into the womb of Molech. And there was a burning fire that was inside this hole in the womb of Molech. And that child would go into that womb and burn alive, killed in the womb of Molech, which is a prophetic symbol of and a picture of abortion, dying in the womb. Verse 21 also speaks about profaning the name of the Lord, profaning the name of God, which is kind of a twin to number 4, being that profaning the name of God. Abortion is profaning the name of God. That's why it's together. It's like a twin. However, we could extract it as a different point, profaning the name of God. What does that mean? What exactly does it mean to profane the name of God? Let's look at a few passages. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 12 says, "And you shall not swear by my name falsely, neither shall you profane the name of your God. I am the Lord." So swearing by the name of the Lord falsely is profaning the name of the Lord. Let's look at another one. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 3. I'll read the last half of the verse. "Because he has given of his seed," which would be of his unborn baby, "to Molech, to defile my sanctuary and to profane my holy name." And here we go again. We see together again the sin of abortion and profanity against God. It's like a twin sin. Abortion is blasphemy. It is profaning the name of the Lord. Let's look at another one. Leviticus chapter 22. "Speak unto Aaron and his sons that they separate themselves from the holy things of the children of Israel, that they profane not my holy name in those things which they hallow unto me. I am the Lord. Neither shall you profane my holy name, but I will be hallowed among the children of Israel. I am the Lord which hallow you." In other words, we must be separated, set apart from the world system, from the world's way of thinking, from the sinful way of thinking, the natural sinful man's way of thinking and way of operating. If we don't, that is profaning the name of the Lord. Amos chapter 2, verse 7. "A man and his father will not go into the same maid." What it means go into, it's talking about sexual relations. And it says, "to profane my holy name." So here we go again. Profaning the name of God is just being unholy, mostly by sexual acts. Number 6, verse 22. "You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination." Of course, this is speaking about homosexuality. Verse 23. "Nor shall you mate with any animal to defile yourself with it, nor shall any woman stand before an animal to mate with it. It is a perversion." Let's go over this list in an itemized fashion. Number 1, incest. Number 2, sexual uncleanness. Number 3, adultery. Number 4, abortion. Number 5, profaning the name of God. Number 6, homosexuality. Number 7, bestiality. God goes on in Leviticus chapter 18, verse 24. "Do not defile yourselves with any of these things, for by all these the nations are defiled, which I am casting out before you. For the land is defiled, therefore I visit the punishment of its iniquity upon it." In other words, I will punish its sin. And the land vomits out its inhabitants. Notice, the land itself will punish the inhabitants thereof. The land itself will vomit out the people. "You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, either any of your own nation or any stranger who dwells among you. For all these abominations the men of the land have done, who were before you, and thus the land is defiled. Lest the land vomit you out also, when you defile it, as it vomited out the nations that were before you." Notice these laws and these sins are so serious that God said to his own people, if you do any of these things, the land will vomit you out also. Verse 29, for whoever commits any of these abominations, the person who commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore you shall keep my ordinance, so that you do not commit any of these abominable customs which were committed before you, that you do not defile yourselves by them. I am the Lord your God. God goes on to expound on these principles in Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 1. Hear, O Israel, you are to cross over the Jordan today, and to go in to dispossess nations greater and mightier than yourself, cities great and fortified up to heaven, a people great and tall, the descendants of the Enochim, whom you know, and of whom you have heard it said, who can stand before the descendants of Enoch? Therefore, understand today that the Lord your God is he who goes over before you as a consuming fire. He will destroy them and bring them down before you. So you shall drive them out and destroy them quickly, as the Lord has said to you. Do not think in your heart after the Lord your God has cast them out before you, saying, because of my righteousness the Lord has brought me into possess this land. But it is because of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord is driving them out before you. It is not because of your righteousness or the uprightness of your heart that you go in to possess their land, but because of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord your God drives them out before you, that he may fulfill the word which the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Therefore, understand that the Lord your God is not giving you this good land to possess because of your righteousness, for you are a stiff-necked people. In summary, God is saying, listen, it's not because you're so good, because you're not so good, but it's because the people who were living in the land before you have done these sins, which are so wicked, that I will drive them out. I know you guys don't do these sins. You're not good either. You're not good either. You're a stiff-necked people. You're not all that righteous either, but at least you don't do these sins. Therefore, I am driving them out, and I'm giving you the land. So let's recap. The children of Israel came from the land of Canaan to begin with, went into Egypt, and were there for 400 years in bondage and afflicted. They had to wait until the sins of the Amorites reached its full measure. These sins that we spoke of before, the 7 sins, they had to wait until those nations were just filled up with these sins. And then the hammer of God would come down. They would come out of Egypt. God would give them the land. Not because they're so good, because they're not so good. Because the people that were there before them who committed these sins were so evil. This is a lesson for every one of you. This is a lesson for everyone. Make sure your nation does not fall. Make sure your nation does not fall by doing everything you can to ensure that these sins are not in the land. What does that mean? That means do everything you can. Even if you're just a citizen, if you are living in a democratic country, you can vote for the person who best matches God's laws. I know it's hard to find, almost impossible to find anybody who completely matches up with it, completely follows all of these laws, and completely follows all of these 7 points, but at least vote for the one who's closer to the mark. It's your responsibility. Do everything you can to make sure that your land lives in holiness, according to the holy God. As he said, be holy, for I am holy. And he said, I am the Lord, I change not.